Hello, everybody. I am joined here today by Kevin Cave, and we're going to be going over Sicily, one of the campaigns in the core game of Field Commander Patton. Now, you'll see a lot of information here, as well as a very prettily put together map made by our graphic designer Vlad. Important things to note, we have the Axis starting forces, as well as where they start and what units start there. There's quite a bit. We have the Allied starting forces all starting here in Gela for the invasion of Sicily. We have our starting supplies for each side. Supplies are your currency in the game. They let you refit your units. They let you buy battle plans. They let you reinforce destroyed units. So it's your money. We then have the support forces, which, if you've seen our combat videos, you'd have seen some of those in action. These guys are non combat units that help the combat units in that battle, either refitting them or giving you extra battle plan points or giving you a free battle plan, that kind of thing. Finally,
Yeah,
we
I think that's a good way that we integrated the support units into the game. I like the flavor of that.
yeah, next, we have the reinforcements because even though there weren't a lot of reinforcements in this battle, a lot of guys showed up either starting on the island or as part of the initial invasion. We did have some of these guys show up. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, the Germans decided pretty early on in the battle that they thought the island was lost and would not contribute reinforcements. So they still had some that would show up, especially these Fallschirmjäger units that we have coming in on turn. What do we have? Turn 2 and turn 3 here. It's just it does show the historical reference of they did get some reinforcements, but not nearly enough.
Yeah. And then next we have sort of this whole section kind of is one area of campaign options, campaign victory points, and your victory status. So these are how many victory points you get for completing each of these, as well as the requirement to earn any victory points. It says gain these victory points at the end of the 10th turn. You have 10 turns to complete this, or when Messenia is captured by you. Meaning, we'll get to Montgomery here in a minute. You may be able to capture Messenia if you really push your units all the way across the battle or all the way across the map. You only score victory points if Palermo is held by the end of the 10th turn. So you must capture Palermo, or else anything else you do in the campaign doesn't count. Because historically,
Historically, that was one of their main for lack of a better term, fortress areas that the Germans held. It was a huge supply point for them where they held reinforcements, supplies, etc., etc. And the Allies wanted to knock that out pretty early. And if they didn't, it was going to be a very hard fight to take Sicily at all.
yep. And here we have if Mazarino, this area is Allied held at some victory points. Palermo is Allied held at some more. Messenia, and as you can see, you may be able to take, let's say, Palermo and Mazarino or whatever, and that'll get you 5 victory points. But you never destroyed their supply train. You didn't take Messenia, and there are still German hostiles sitting on the map by the end of the 10th turn. So you get 6 victory points, an okay result. Here's a way that you can kind of earn some more or take better options for you. Here we have some of the campaign options. Now, in Sicily, they all are negative. Other campaigns have some positive, some negative, just positive. But these are options you can take that will cost you victory points, but give you a significant boost in your capability, such as stack up. That costs you 1 victory point, but it means this little 5 on the truck, 2 on the truck, 4 on the truck is the limit to the number of units that you can have in one area to kind of show the supply limitations. As you move further and further away from Gela, things get, tighter and tighter, but you choose stack up. You don't need to worry about those supply trucks, but you're capped at getting a good victory result. You can't get the great if you take this concession.
Yeah, that was. I think that was a good way to show the balance of Patton's aggression versus trying to maintain supply lines, which was a common problem for him, and something that, if you can manage your supplies a little bit better than Patton, then maybe you do deserve that great result.
Yeah, exactly. Next, we have the sequence of play, very similar to Rommel. We have the refit stage, where at the start of your turn, paying one, two, or three supplies allows you to refit a infantry, mechanized, or armored unit. You then have the move step, which is where you push your counters around. Resolve battles, which is if your allied units are in the same area as an Axis unit, a battle takes place, and you guys have seen the battle videos. And then there's the push step, new to Patton, which you can choose any number of your units to act a second time this turn, doing a second move and then second resolve battles. However, that unit suffers fatigue, and that unit now is at risk of hurting themselves in combat in the future. Finally, we have the supply check, which is making sure that you don't have more units than what the supply truck allows in each of the three areas. And then unique to Sicily is Advanced Montgomery. Tell us about that.
So during the Battle of Sicily, historically, there was a British commander, Bernard Montgomery, and Patton, the U.S. commander. They famously did not get along. They did not like each other very much at all. And Patton was he was about the publicity of everything, to a degree. So he tried to race Montgomery to Messina in the end. He was supposed to basically protect their flank, but he said, "To hell with that! I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win," and tried to race Montgomery to Messina.
Yeah. And so each turn, you push Montgomery one area closer. And so you need to get there before he gets there if you're looking to get a great result. Next, we have the Axis orders. These are very similar to the Allied orders, except they don't have a push step. And then at the end of the Axis turn is when you advance the turn counter up by one. Of course, once you end the 10th turn, the campaign is over. You score victory points if you've held Palermo, plus whatever other activities you've gotten. Next, we have the resupply area. Now, here you're going to start a little starved for supplies because you're getting units onto the field. Supply lines haven't been fully constructed. The Germans are, very entrenched and very ready for you. So you're getting some per turn, and then you're getting bonuses if you can clear an entire region of Axis, and even more for each fortress area held. Those are these little black square areas that play a little bit differently. And we'll get to that in future videos. Next, you lose some if the Axis hold Gela, which, if you have Axis forces here, everybody leaves Gela to go to Mazarino, start moving up here, and some guys are left. They may start charging towards Gela and take your, central area here, which would be a major problem. So you need to really clear everybody out of here before pushing up. Um, Next, we have the infamous slap. Tell us about that slap.
Ah, yes, the famous Patton slap. So in Sicily, Patton was visiting some of his field medical hospitals, visiting wounded soldiers, just trying to get a sense of what was going on. And he came across a gentleman who was having no physical wounds, still being admitted into the field hospital. Later found out it was what is now known as PTS or PTSD. They called it shell shock back in the day. And Patton got very upset that the soldier was, in his mind, taking up a bed for a wounded man. And Patton slapped the soldier and actually got in a lot of trouble for it. He actually lost his command after the invasion of Sicily was complete because of it.
Yes, and each campaign is going to have what I call a moment. In Sicily, it's the slap. In other campaigns, it's other major decisions that Patton made either at the start, middle, or end of the campaign that radically shift how the campaign plays. In this case, you can choose to slap the soldier, at which point every unit that you have on the map fatigue gets set to 4 or less, meaning every time they roll for combat, if they roll a 4 or less, they'll suffer a hit. However, you do not increase or decrease unit fatigues for the rest of the campaign, meaning they're at a four or less, they'll always be at a four or less. You can't reduce it, you can't increase it. You might as well push your guys every single turn. And this is to show that you slap them and they are kind of in fear of you at this point. They're scared and they're like, if he's going to hit him in front of cameras, he could hit me. We just keep it moving. I know I'm just completely overburdened, mentally out of it, but we just have to keep moving. Or you
Patton
can
was uh Patton was well known for kind of riding his guys hard, and he said, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something to the turn of phrase of, "By God, I hope they never lose their fear of me," which kind of shows
exactly.
you his command style, a little bit more aggressive. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Or you can choose not to slap the soldier, at which point everybody realizes this is a calm and rational man. You remove your fatigue from your units, any fatigue that you've gotten in these, first couple of turns of moving them, but you can no longer push units for the rest of the campaign because they're not scared of you. They don't need to be pushed. They aren't worried that you're going to physically assault them anymore. They're like, hey, he wasn't going to hit him, he's not going to hit me. And so everybody kind of calms down and relaxes, but it kind of costs you in the long run. And you get to make this decision at turn four every time you play this campaign. And so this was yet another way we wanted to add replayability. First time you play the campaign, you do the historical slap, see how that turns out. Next time you don't slap and you see how that turns out. All right. The final thing to talk about here are the Axis orders. These are die rolls that are made during the Axis turn, where you make one die roll for the entire map, and then that roll gets modified based on different effects. In this case, for the Southern Axis orders, they have a pretty good chance of moving to Mazarino. They may hold in their areas, or if they're feeling really bold, high roll, more bold here, they're going to advance towards Gela. And this is modified for each German force and Allied force in the region. So at the start, you're going to have quite a few guys. They're going to have some guys, so they'll be at a minus on their roll. But if you take most of your guys out and start moving to Palermo, Messina, all of that, then some of the like leftover guys sitting in, Lentini or whatever may start advancing towards Gela on high rolls. Next, we have the Western Axis orders. Here, they have a chance of retreating to Messina, retreating to Menfi Kakamo, Menfi or Kakamo, or they're going to hold the line right here. And then this is again modified by how many your forces, their forces, and if Mazarino is held. Why is that?
it's basically to show the difference between combat is always fluid, and we wanted to show that, and showing that with a kind of a random chance of what the units are going to do based on what the AI wants it to do. It's going to show the flow of combat a little bit better while keeping it really, really fun and entertaining.
Yeah. And once you've taken Mazarino, that's kind of when the Axis started to realize, oh, the Allies are not messing around. They've taken a major city here. We're going to start sounding the retreat. We're going to start, moving back. And that's why you have that -2 modifier, if you've taken Mazarino, and they'll start pulling back a little bit. Finally,
Yeah, they would try and pull back and protect Palermo, or they would try and protect the train, um, just kind of trying to keep their main strategic resources alive.
yes. And then finally, we have the Eastern Axis orders. They'll hold with an asterisk that we'll get to in a second. They may retreat to Messina. They may advance to Troina to kind of have a forward operating base out here. Or they'll advance to the nearest Allied held fortress, which may be Palermo or Mazarino. Most likely it'll be Mazarino, so they'll start charging in and doing kind of a counterattack. You've pushed them back quite a bit. You've taken most of the western area. They're now going to start charging in here because they're feeling bold. Finally, if you have Mazarino held and you roll this one or less, they'll hold, so no units will move. Any unit in Messina will be discarded, essentially taken off the map. Why is that?
Essentially, that's Messina, and the area around that was the area that they retreated from Sicily back to the mainland of Italy to prepare for the Allied invasion of Italy. Germany was not super willing to commit a lot of forces and lose a lot of forces to defend something they thought was already lost. So they were pretty steadily trickling outward pretty quickly in Sicily.
Yeah. And this is the Sicily map. Um, in the next couple of weeks, we'll have the Lorraine Part 1, 2, and 3 map that we'll be able to go over and show you guys. And I wanted to give you guys a quick little breakdown. All of this is also visible on the Kickstarter, so you'll be able to look at this possibly in a higher quality if you'd like. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm glad we actually yes, one on the push mechanism. I'm glad we included that. It's Patton was known for that. And I think that definitely will play a role in, what they are to push their units. Kind of putting the idea of can I do better than Patton out into the field. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
Excellent. All right. We'll see you guys in the next one.